Well, greetings there, fellow repairers of Land Rovers, and I'm sure multiple other things. Gonna have a little look at my service history on my vehicle because, despite the fact that it has a full Range Rover Land Rover service history, I'm a bit suspicious about how the garage has, or the garages over time have carried out the service schedule. So what we have when you log on is you get a nice screen like this that gives you some information about your vehicle. So all you need is your VIN number, and then you can look up the service history for your vehicle. And the other useful thing is it gives you the service information. So if I was to look up, say, 24-month service and submit, it will give us a list of like an itinerary of what we should do. So what I'm interested in this service items list are things like the fuel filter being replaced, the air cleaner element or air filter, and the engine oil. So to me, these are the kind of basic kind of things that should be renewed on a sort of, relatively frequent basis. So that's what we're going to have a little nose around at our service, and I'm going to see whether I can match it up to the information that I've received with the vehicle. So we scrolled down to the bottom and gone to when the vehicle was new. So we've got the pre-delivery inspection. So the vehicle was then handed over to the customer, I'm assuming, and it's given to them and they've driven off and they'll come back a year later for a service. This vehicle, I think, was supplied with a 5-year service plan. So they paid for this, paid up front. So I would assume that you paid for a Land Rover service plan, probably slightly expensive thing to buy. You would get the items on the itinerary that I showed you earlier. So I'm just going to look through and I'll say which things are supposed to be included in the services, and we'll see whether actually Land Rover bothered to do those particular things. So after 12 months, we would expect to have an oil change on the vehicle. It shouldn't have done that many miles, so nothing really major would need doing. But interestingly here, they've decided to renew the brake fluid. They do like replacing the pollen filter, which they seem to do quite frequently. So nothing remarkable there. 2nd year service. This is where you would really expect them to replace things like fuel filters, air filters, and the oil. So in this case, they've actually done the correct things here and replaced those items. So we're on to our 4-year service here, and on a 4-year service we should be getting an air filter, well that's not there, an oil filter and oil, so that's good, they've done that, and a fuel filter, so we haven't got that, but again they've replaced the pollen filter, which obviously seems to be quite important to Land Rover. Not quite sure why that's such an important item, but there we go. I guess it's an easy one to shove in the thing without having to think much. So then we're going to move on to our 5-year service. So this is probably the last service that was included in their service plan. So we should be having an oil filter and oil change. We've got another pollen filter and the transfer case. So they've actually done that so that 5 years, I think this is when they've probably gone out of their service plan. So up till then, we've missed a couple of bits. So let's see whether they get a bit better and start renewing the things that are missing that I think should have been renewed. So we get now onto our 2021 service. So we have a renewal of oil filter and oil. That's good. Oh, look, we've got another pollen filter, an electronic vehicle health check, which I'm not really sure what that is, but doesn't seem to say a lot in the paperwork I've got. So we are missing again here, we are missing an air filter and a fuel filter. Year 7 now, we're on to 2022, 84-month service. 84-month service should be an oil change and an oil filter, so they got that right. We've got another pollen filter, which again, neither here nor there. And the cam belt, so that's a good thing. They've actually bothered to do the cam belt. I've got the invoice for that one. They paid a lot of money to have that service done. So that's good, we know that's been done and won't need doing for a while under my ownership, which is good. So we move on to our 96 months. So what's that? That's the year 8 service. Of course, we're not matching the mileage, but I would expect the age of components to be replaced at these particular points, regardless of what the mileage of the vehicle is, because those components have been in the vehicle. So we have got another oil change and oil filter, so that's good. We've got another pollen filter, which we don't really need at that point, but Land Rover obviously like pollen filters. We've got a fuel filter missing and an air cleaner or air filter missing from that one. Not great. Right, so we're now up to our 108 month service, which is year 9. So we actually only need an oil service at this point. So we have got that oil and oil filter, and yet we've got another pollen filter again. So we jump up then to the final service before I take ownership of the vehicle. They've obviously gone a bit of time without doing this, but they don't seem to have done very many miles. So I don't know whether they were away on business or away from the country or doing something else or ill health, who knows. But at least we have an oil and a filter change. So that's a good thing. But on the 120 months or 10-year service, we would have expected really. I mean, this has been done again at a proper Land Rover service centre because we've got the history online. I would have expected to have another fuel filter, an air filter, and actually looking at the itinerary, you should have had a automatic transmission fluid service. So they should have changed the filter at least. So that'll have to go onto my list of jobs. Okay, so that's what I've got with my 10-year of service history with this vehicle. The good thing is all the oil changes have been done. The bad thing is I don't think they've done some of the other things. So I'm going to be doing a fuel filter change very soon. And I'm also going to be looking at the automatic transmission fluid and doing a service on that. Let me know in the comments what you think about actual Land Rover service histories, whether they're worth the paper they're written on or the online bit they're written on. Interesting to me, but oil changes are always very important. So if I had a vehicle without those, probably be very skeptical about buying it. But the other things really should have been included in there. So, like I said, let me know your thoughts and thank you for watching. Coming soon, there will be an air filter video which will reveal some of what I think has not been done on this vehicle.